Dalo. Greetings, everybody that dutifully follow our channel. I want to give a pep talk about well-being of our people. For my faithful collaborators on this channel, you guys that are helping the channel to grow, I know that by now, when I say my people or our people, you would know whom I mean. You know yourselves, the Igbo people, but those that we are not cut away from Nigeria or from Igbo land until recently, when exigencies of life made Igbos to begin to disperse all over the world. Those cut away during the period when human traffickers were very active and they ended up in the New World. In the New World, we mean the United States, North America and the Caribbeans, in fact. Those that ended up in Europe and those that ended up in parts of Africa, and the other nations that emanated from the house of Israel. When I say my people or our people, I have you in mind. Every day, I think of our well-being. I'll move gradually. I'll move from point A to point B. I was thinking this afternoon about the existence of the Igbo people. The life of the Igbo is filled with trauma, is filled with hardships, is filled with pressure. Majority of the people are depressed. Majority of the people are unhappy. As I thought and think more and more about this, I am faced with no other option than to conclude that the Igbo people committed a fundamental error by living their own way of life and beginning to run after shadows, which the contemporary way of life that Igbos are pursuing is. I will make my point with just a very little illustration. We all read Things Fall Apart, and I urge everybody who has not read Things Fall Apart to read Things Fall Apart. I am happy that I have a professor, Onyebuchi James Ile, who considers himself one of the disciples of Chinua Achebe. I believe we need to study that book and study that book and study that book. What Achebe wrote down are things that every Igbo can still relate to. But majority of the Igbos in Nigeria, I mean, when I say Igbos in Nigeria, I mean Igbos that stemmed from Nigeria. I don't mean the African Americans, because I'll make a very clear distinction here. The African American is still very, very much interested in inquiring. The African Americans of Igbo extraction are more interested in inquiring about the culture they lost more than the Igbos that stemmed from Nigeria. The Igbos that stemmed from Nigeria assume they know it all, but the reality is that colonialism took away everything. We could know it, but majority of us don't know it. What Achebe was describing were things we can still relate to. Everything Achebe wrote are things that are still extant in the Igbo culture today. But if Achebe had not put them down in writing, and if I had not begun to write about them, every Igbo that stemmed from Nigeria would believe that those things are things he knows. But the reality is that he does not have time to think about them. And more often than not, in order to feel big, in Hebrews, he makes up stories which he uses to replace those things that are Igbo culture. I will give an example that will stand up in court. You know, my first profession was law. Achebe described an ultra-egalitarian society. But we have Igbos today who are lying that their families were kingdoms. They are using falsehood to cover truth. And if you keep on lying, at a stage you begin to think that the falsehood is the fact. So, Achebe gave us a peek into the Igbo world as it was when he was writing about it, and as it is still largely today. That world, if Igbos had tried to retain that world, the depression we are seeing today will not be there. Everything you acquire in that society, every greatness you acquire in that society, you worked for it. If you want to be an Nze or Eze, that is priest in the Nazarite order, every Israelite was supposed to be a priest. And to make them officially priests, God handed over the tradition of Nazariteship to the Israelites. Among the Nze, among the Igbos, it retained the biblical moniker, Nze. To be an Nze, you have to work for it. You have to be an upright person, most importantly. Then you have to be a person of means so that you can work hard, so that you will not be lazy. But the most important requirement is that you will be a person of impeccable character, men and women. Nothing came to anybody because of favoritism. Contrast with today's world. To be a bishop, you have to have godfathers. To be a governor, you have to have godfathers. To work in the bank, you have to have godfathers. To get a good job, you have to have godfathers. To get anything, you have to compete. And not necessarily compete on equal grounds, on terms of equality, but you have to know people. This is one of the things cutting the Igbo life, making the Igbo lifespan to be short. This is one of the reasons why the Igbos are not lasting. But then, as I have always reiterated, I am not the kind of prophet that sees only the problem. I see the solution too. How do we get out of the quagmire? Fortunately, there are Igbos who stemmed from Nigeria who want to work. Unfortunately, they are not many in number. Those who stem from Nigeria are distracted. They are distracted by Nigeria. The assumption is that Nigeria is the cause of all the problems of the Igbos. But the reality is that Nigeria feeds off the Igbo dysfunction. If Igbo people organize themselves for a week, Nigeria will try to conform to the Igbos. But Igbos don't know this. But how then do we solve the problem? Those in Nigeria that have bought into this message are few in number. But fortunately, there are other branches of the family that are also well placed to start putting to practice some of the things we have seen and that we are talking about. TD Jakes has visited Igbo land, identifies himself as an Igbo. J.D. Forrester has done the same. What did the Igbos benefit from this? What are Igbos supposed to benefit from it? If the right people had organized those visits, T.D. Jakes would have talked to the Igbos about how the community he came from, the African American community, working against all odds, created one of the strongest, most cohesive, vibrant communities in the world today. I have lived in America for 7 years. I will not get tired of saying that the African American community is a successful community. So if T.D. Jakes, if J.D. Forrester, if Rihanna, whom people also say that she's a descendant of Igbos, if in addition to wearing the red cap, dancing in the village square, they had also told the Igbos, organize yourselves. Let the Umunna be strong again. Let the Umunna start functioning as a family again. As a person with authority, the Igbos could have listened and realized that serious questions are raised about who we are. From the grapevine, the information is that there are at least 1 million Igbos in the United States of America. This is the most important and powerful country in the world today. If you have a strong lobby in it, you can get a lot of good things done. But there is no community. But as I said, there are arms of the family who have managed to build communities and who are ready to work with Igbos. So, Michelle Britton, Rodney Frederick, Zion Lex, William Brown, Randall Benjamin, and others. There is a lot of work that is to be done. I am going to call for a meeting very soon so that we will sit down and talk about how we will rebuild our communities everywhere, so that we will contribute our unique gifts to the world. The culture I described, that I stated that Igbos left and entered into the one that they are in now, which is taking their lives very early, is the culture everybody in the world needs. I talked extensively about it in this book. I am urging you all, read this book and see what we could use to make the world to say, we have arrived. Thank you, everybody.